Hello and welcome again. Thank you for joining us for yet another edition of Spincast here at Stay Plugged In. Today we have Josh Young. He is the head coach of the Esports program at Penn College. Good day to you today, Josh. How are you?
I'm great, Rick. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you. Kind of just taking it day by day, like probably everybody is, but so excited that you could join us on the podcast today. Thank you so very much for joining us and taking some of your time to educate us a little bit more about esports in general, but obviously a lot more specifically in terms of what's going on at Penn College and what you're seeing there on campus. So why don't we just get it started? If you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get started in esports in general, first off, and then how did that lead to the position you're at currently at Penn College?
Okay, yeah. So competition, that is literally the reason why I got into esports and all that. I have that competitive nature. Everybody has it, and that's why we have sports. So growing up, I was in track, soccer, basketball. I thought it was going to lead to, scholarship, something bigger. Had injuries that led to me not being able to do those dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I still had that competitive nature there. Now, while that was on the side, I got my master's in educational technology, which does have a lot of things going with it. With esports, there's a lot of crossover between those two. So you put that there. Also, I am a aspiring sim racer. I've been doing it for over 10 years. I started out with Gran Turismo, doing their Gran Turismo sport deal with the FIA. Had fun doing that. Then moved into iRacing, Assetto Corsa Competition, R Factor. Been doing all those. So I have that competition bug, and when I saw that this was growing in the collegiate space and also with the position I'm in here at the college, I just said, we need to do this here on our campus. We will get a bunch of students just right away interested and let's move forward. So I pitched it in November of 2018, and by February of 2019, we had our team and we started competing.
Awesome. That is awesome. How many titles do you guys compete at currently? I know it's relatively new, but still, how many overall?
All right. So, well, this year, we let me pull the list up so I don't forget any. This year, we had 2 Rocket League teams. We had 2 League of Legends teams. We had a fall team for Smite, Apex Legends, Overwatch, Hearthstone, Fortnite, singles and duos. And then we had one person that did iRacing, the Dirt series in that. And then in the fall, we will be expanding to Valorant as soon as they get the league set up for the Collegiate.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of students who are interested in that title.
Yeah, Valorant's certainly going to make a big splash. There's no doubt about that. Now, interestingly enough, it sounds like you literally are just getting the program up and running over the last 12 months, and already you've got a massive list of titles. But it just goes to speak to how interested students really truly are in esports in general. I mean, you find a variety of levels where there's kids like to do it just socially and have that aspect of competition, and you get some that are uber competitive and man, they want to win at all costs and compete against the very best. How is it there for you guys?
Yeah, so although it sounds like it's only been a year or so under my own personal head coach position, but Penn College has had esports in a club for over 4 years now. So that's why all of a sudden, boom, February, we had all these teams and players. That's because we had a great student organization that was built by 5 students who, I think 4 of them just graduated this semester 4 years ago. So that was our foundation to build on. And the students did all of the work, and I literally just stepped in, was able to take it from there and elevate it into a more public space for the college.
Got it. That's awesome that the students, and that's what I see a lot of as well. There's certainly a lot of students that are taking that initiative because they are so passionate in this space to form some sort of organization or club or what have you, to the point where it gets to matriculate into varsity teams and things of that nature, which is fantastic. Talk a little bit about your background in respect to educational technology. So there is that overlap, if you will, with esports. How do you see that playing out? What is it that overlaps, and how does that benefit some of the students from an academic perspective?
Yeah, so educational technology, there's the overlap is in the whole esports process. So the technology that we're using in esports is no different than the technology that our faculty are using in the classroom, especially with this whole COVID-19. We're using Zoom, which is, you know, teleconferencing, but any type of conferencing, it's no different than, you know, streaming on Twitch. So we get that crossover. As for the whole process, producing video and content like that, our faculty are learning that from our students because they've been doing it with their Twitch streams. So I've learned the esports side of things by relating all of my educational technology side of things because, to be honest, in iRacing, a lot of us don't do Twitch. We don't have that social aspect. We just hop in the race, have fun, talk amongst ourselves in the internal channels rather than do the streaming. So it's really neat. The whole production value is very similar between educational technology and esports.
Awesome. And that's been an underlying theme of a number of these podcasts where there are so many different opportunities academically and career-wise because there are so many branches of this huge tree of esports, if you will. But curiously enough, you're the first person that brings up iRacing at the collegiate level. I think there's a huge amount of NASCAR fans, certainly throughout the country, but we live here in NASCAR town, here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And iRacing has been a big event, especially over the last few weeks. Until recently, obviously, when NASCAR has been able to get back out on the track. So talk to us about iRacing. How does that work? What's the passion there? And do you see that potentially expanding at the collegiate level?
Well, I'll answer that last question first. I hope and pray. I'm trying as one of the people to make it happen in the college scene. So that's why I instantly now I'll roll back. The person who was our iRacing driver was a former student of mine in my class. So that's how that all worked out. I just said, hey, why not put the Penn College logo on your car? That's the one cool thing about iRacing I see is we would have 40 different college or universities out there on the track with their logos. It's just the great way to promote your school, but also great way to have competition because that's the next thing that I see with esports. Penn College, we have 5,000 students and we are only 45 minutes away from Penn State. So they have 50,000 students and we compete against them. We beat them a couple times in Overwatch. They beat us, but that's the cool thing is it doesn't matter the size, the amount of students you have, the budget of your school. Everybody has the ability to perform at a high level. So that's going to be cool, especially in the iRacing bit to see those things. I want to move it forward. I've been reaching out to iRacing and also the National Association of Collegiate Esports, which I'm a board member of. We're reaching out with them to find a way to make this happen. So anybody listening, if you have ideas, please, reach out to me for sure. That'd be great. But yeah, we're going to keep working on it. And since you're in the Charlotte area, maybe you could help us out too.
I will spread the word. Believe me, we have upcoming events that we hope to collaborate with the Charlotte Motor Speedway locally here. And again, NASCAR is huge everywhere. Don't get me wrong. But certainly iRacing, this is somewhere in the country that I think if they were able to pull off some strings and get some things done, it would be here certainly. Right. But also from a translatable video game, if you will, I mean, there's a number of games like when a parent or someone who's never seen League of Legends and they try to follow the action on that, it's a little bit more difficult than Rocket League, for example, which is a little bit more straightforward and easier to follow. iRacing is very easy. It's very realistic. So the fact that you can plug it in, watch it, and say, I know exactly what's going on. And to your point, if that's your school logo, well, there's Penn College as they race around the track. following it and rooting for it, I think would be a very easy transition. What do you think would be some of the pitfalls in terms of bringing iRacing across the collegiate landscape? Difficult hurdles.
Uh, it does take a lot more bandwidth, just because you have, 40 different connections going into one. So there's that issue. The racing rigs can get very, very expensive. I mean, we're talking $10,000 to $20,000 if you want to go full on. But as that iRacing series showed us there, Timmy Hill, one of the drivers, I believe he won one of the races or came really close, was racing with a Logitech steering wheel that cost like $200. And then you had Denny Hamlin, who had his $25,000 55-inch triple panel race rig, and he was competing just as well as that. So it doesn't take great equipment. It just takes the ability to learn with that equipment and the time. So even though I do say that's, some of the stumbling blocks is the cost of it, but on the other side, it can be very enjoying. It's just a totally different aspect, even though it's, it's a single person game. There's other areas of that. There's the spotter aspect. So you can have another teammate on your esports team that does the spotting. And then where I have some trouble with is setups for the cars. So these cars just aren't a simple car on the track. There's actual setups that work with real physics. So you can change the size of your track bar and where it's located, the springs rates, your toe in, toe out, all those things. Yep. And you could have, an engineering student working on that. So it will also bring not only, the fun of competition in, but some educational resources as well. And especially since we're a school of technology and it's applied technology, something like that would be very useful on our campus.
Yeah, no doubt. Sounds like an interesting foray to try to jump into that space as well. And you never know. Hopefully that's something that we continue to see grow in the collegiate space. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the other games you have. And obviously, as you've grown, started student-led, 4 or 5 years back to where you are today. What are some of your most competitive teams currently?
So currently, our most competitive is our Overwatch team. So cool thing is we just built our esports arena. And the unfortunate thing is we only got about a month's worth of use of it before our students were pushed off campus here. But in that one month, the first weekend it was open, we played in what was called the PA Cup, and it was 17 or 18 Pennsylvania schools who competed in Overwatch and League of Legends. So we played in, and we were one of the top 4. And I think we beat Penn State main campus, Pitt Bradford, and Penn State Harrisburg to make it to the finals. That's when we ended up at Harrisburg, going up against Harrisburg University, which is basically the undisputed king of Overwatch currently. Temple and I think Penn State was there. So we ended up in 4th place. And I think that was awesome because we just used our own, we call it the Wildcat Den, is our esports facility.
Nice.
For the first time. And we made it to this live event. Now, this was my students' first live event, so nerves got the best of them. But I think we could have competed for, top 2 or 3 at the finals. So that one, that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot during that as well, because before that, we weren't a traveling team competing or anything like that. So yeah, it was great to see. And then the other team that really surprised me was Fortnite. And initially, we didn't have a Fortnite team. It was several students who came out to me and said, "Hey, we want to play singles and duos. We got somebody from Play Versus to reach out to us, this and that. Can we play?" I'm like, I looked at their ratings. I'm like, sure, why not? So they started in the NACE duos before that got canceled. And I think we were in the top 4 out of 49 schools before it's canceled. So we were up there with Full Sail University was one of them. I think St. Clair College in Canada was another one in the top 3. So there was a wide range of schools as well in that. So that would have been fun to see. I think the championships were going to be at DreamHack Atlanta for that one.
Nice. That's a huge event. So sounds like the coaching has really instilled a winning culture amongst this group. I just wanted to plug you a little bit there. But obviously great success early on. Unfortunately, obviously we got shut down, especially with your new arena. But talk a little bit about something you mentioned in terms of, traveling to an event and the nerves getting the best of the kids. For me personally as a parent, I'd love to see kids travel to compete together versus online. And obviously there is that necessity to do some of the things online, but the social aspect of being able to see your opponent obviously face to face and sportsmanship that can come along with some of those things, etc. How did you view it? What was that experience like for you? Do you intend on hopefully doing more of those as we start to open up a little bit more?
Yes. So I'll roll back first. Being a board member in NACE, we've made the decision that all of our championships are going to be remote for the rest of 2020.
Sure.
So it's not going to be a requirement. But if there's local events, things like that, like if we just go up the road to a state college and play at Penn State, yeah, sure. So as for the whole aspect of it, I think it's very, very important because the first thing is a lot of people see esports as this introverted type of thing where it's just a person hiding in their room playing games for hours on end. That's to me a casual gamer. It's that next level, the ones who have that drive and competition that go to that next level. So they want to be out there, but sometimes they still have those social issues that don't make them. So for us to bring those competitions on, it really helps them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just cue up a thought of when we went to Penn State Harrisburg for a TESPA event. We've been scrimmaging with University of Pittsburgh, Arcadia, and Kutztown University in Overwatch and League of Legends. My players never met them, and they got to meet them down there, and instantly, they're chatting, became friends. They're willing to work with one another, and that's the great thing is I see esports as becoming not just a sport, but there's a lot of more community in the background where these players are willing to support other teams, say, hey, you're playing this character all wrong. Why don't you try this and that? That doesn't happen in real sports. The coach isn't going to tell the other team that their point guard should pass the ball to the right more often than the left. It's for the other coach to figure out. But in this scenario, we're helping each other out and just continuing to make it grow because we see this as such a great thing for our students.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think we're the proponents of change to a degree, meaning we're trying to push along this space as best as possible so that foundation is really, really strong for the people that come behind us, right? A little bit because it's new. It really, truly is. We're kind of, at least for me, I'm learning as I go along a little bit more and more each and every single day, but trying to make sure that the path that is set is better for that next person that comes along behind us. So talk a little bit about, from a student's perspective, if I was coming on campus to Penn College, what's that look like for me if I'm part of the esports program? What's my day-to-day like? What's my balance between practice and academics and social life, et cetera? Wrap it all up for a student that's listening to this. Sure.
So that whole process has been evolving only because of our esports space. And we, since the break, actually, this has caused us to be able to have time to create a structure that will best fit our college. So right now, I do have 28 starters on my team, but in the back end here at Penn College, we have two different clubs. We have the Esports Club, which is underneath my esports team. They're basically more like a JV squad, club teams, titles that we don't play. And then we have what's called WOGA, Wildcat Online Gamers Association. They are just in everything from card games to online games to Nintendo titles, all those things put together, not just one. So you put all that together, there's close to almost 150 students who are involved in some type of video gaming in one way or another here on campus. That's a little crazy for a part-time head coach to manage. So starting this fall, each one of our teams will have a team manager that will report to me. And those team managers' jobs will be to make sure that the team's practicing the amount of hours they schedule correctly in the esports facility. They'll reach out and collect the paperwork so that I get weekly information about my students and how they're performing in their classroom, things like that. So that's the first step there. Now, these students can be part of the varsity program, but they don't have to be. It's just another way I see of putting somebody or getting somebody involved in esports that wants to be there. You know, it might be a freshman who is not platinum level in League of Legends right now, but wants to work their way up and wants to be a part of my program. I just try and find more opportunities for them. So we have that. And then we have all my varsity teams. The varsity teams will all be required to have a minimum of 10 hours of practice a week in the facility. Right now, we'll be doing that by watching video to make sure they do that, but we're working on setting up all the systems so that we can track that as well. So that's team play. On their own, they can play. We like them to only play about 5 to 7 hours personal time, because we don't want them to, go off and try new things or get strayed away from that team aspect, since most, all these games are team strategy organized and that type of thing. So we have that. Now, as for the rest of that community, we have so many different majors here. We have welding, we have baking and pastry arts, nursing, architecture, programming. It's hard to get them to work together more outside of class. So we try and group up those students together. So if we have like our League of Legends team and Overwatch team has some baking and pastry arts, we'll try and group them together as general, just so they can keep that community feel together. And then that's for all of our varsity and team members. For all those others out there who want to be at that level or get that way, we do have opportunities where they can have tournaments and the top players will come in and play at the Wildcat Den and trophies, things like that. We also do every semester a 24-hour game day night. So it starts at 10 in the morning, goes till 10 the next day. Several different tournaments, things like that, to keep everybody here on campus engaged. The next step will be our streaming. So I just had students who are willing. We're actually going to build that up, and that will just be another aspect of my esports program that will have those streamers. So overall, I'm just trying to build a program that gets as many students involved, whether they want to do the video production, whether they want to do marketing and outreach, or be an athlete itself. In one way or another, they're going to get some type of involvement to move them forward if they're interested in this field outside of college.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, it still builds their resume pretty well just through that experiential learning, which I think is fantastic. That's awesome. So talk about, what do you think is your biggest challenge as you continue to build this program inside out, mold it into the form that you want it, just so across the landscape for you on a personal level? What do you think is the biggest challenge as you continue to move forward?
Biggest challenge is there's so many. to be honest.
Understood.
It's all down to every challenge is down to the perception of esports.
Mhm.
Um, I'm at the younger age of that group that sees esports as maybe a fad, unless you actually are in it, or open-minded. So again, since we have all these crazy different majors, a lot of them don't see how can esports help out a welding student.
Right.
I can say, hey, well, you have a virtual headset that teaches students how to weld. That esports student might go for gaming and simulation. And instead of playing, creating games and simulations like, for the PS4 or wherever, they're creating them for welding. I said, so you are benefiting from the esports industry. You just don't know it. And I can bring up another example that we'll have to rethink now I think about it. But our nursing program, we were looking at getting VR headsets so that they could do clinicals with the VR headset on. Obviously, right now, hygiene, don't know how that will happen. So, but virtual reality is making its way into education, but that whole aspect came from the video game industry. So, so I try and break the mold of my challenges by relating any type of educational aspect to esports.
Got it. So the perception in general is that biggest obstacle. And I think that will, in time, work in your favor as more and more people become acclimated with what it is and what certainly the opportunities that it can create. Let's talk about, as we're winding down here on time a little bit, let's talk about, in your short time as the head coach, but I know you've been involved in the esports space for a while, most memorable moment. What's something that you can look back on and say, wow, this is a neat feature that esport brought to the table, whether it's something with a student, something for you personally, something with the program, et cetera. What would that be?
Well, I'll have to say it actually relates to my full-time position as learning system administrator. So I run a learning management system. It's D2L by Brightspace.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working on onboarding all of our faculty here on campus to use that system for everything from giving materials to quizzing and testing and grading. So I was helping out a older welding faculty member to get all of his materials online. And he just thought this was the greatest thing ever, and he wanted to repay me in some way or another. So I'm just, it's welding. What are you going to repay me? Well, in the end, the repayment was he helped create a Wildcat logo that's going to be hung in our esports facility. So the students used CAD to cut out the Wildcat logo, this same logo that's on my shirt right here. And then they welded it together, finished it. And then our automotive department said, hey, we can't just have this gray aluminum Wildcat. It looks cool, it's 3D, but let's put some color on it. So they went ahead and painted it, and now the Wildcat logo looks exactly like this with the blue ears, the blue eye, the black, everything. It is spot on. The only thing is this is, 2 inches. The one that I have is going to be 3 feet by 4 feet wide. So that's going to get hung up, but that was just a favor of the faculty because I helped him out with that. He thought, let's do something fun. And that's the cool thing about this campus here at Penn College is our programs and our students often, find something here on campus that they get involved in, and then they pay it forward through creating something or developing something for us. So like our pastry arts, we were going to plan a little award ceremony, and they were making video game cookies. Unfortunately, that got squashed. We didn't have our video game awards series this year, but that whole plan will roll on into the fall. So it's fun on campus here for sure.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, we are just about up on our slotted amount of time, but I sincerely appreciate you, first off, coming on, taking some time, educating us again a little bit about Penn College, and certainly some of the things that you have going from a culture perspective. That program is certainly on the rise, I think. We're relatively new, but obviously have had some big successes early on. I think that hopefully will continue for you. And I think you've got them certainly going in the right direction. As a parent, that's what we look for. Where can I send my son or daughter? Where they've got mentors such as yourself that really are pushing them in the right direction. So again, kudos to you. We appreciate your time and energy spent on campus there. For all of you listening in, thank you so much for coming on board and listening to another podcast here at Spincast. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Stay safe.